Pack your bags, we're headed on a big old ride, with dreams of sunlit shores and the open skies, from the hills of Cyprus to where the world collides.
Okay, so, picture this. You're escaping to the Italian coast for a long weekend, right? Sun, amazing food, maybe a little history thrown in. And that's exactly what we're diving into today.
Sounds idyllic.
It really does. We're joining Rob and Mandy, a couple who, get this, swapped Cardiff for Cyprus back in 2006.
A pretty big life change, trading those Welsh rains for Mediterranean sunshine. Bold move.
Totally. And their blog, A New Life Planned in Cyprus, is all about, well, that new life they built.
Yeah.
But they're clearly bitten by the travel bug because there's a whole section dedicated to their adventures.
So what's got us digging into their travel diaries today?
Well, out of all their trips, this one, a 4-day jaunt to Bari, Italy in 2022, really seemed to stick with them. We've got 4 blog posts to unravel the mystery of what made this trip so special.
I'm intrigued. Was it a hidden gem they uncovered? A life-changing plate of pasta?
We're on a mission to find out. And their adventure starts, as many good ones do, with a little travel hiccup. They describe their flight out of Paphos, Cyprus, starting smoothly enough, but then bam, turbulence hits.
Ugh, that sinking feeling in your stomach. We've all been there, right?
The universal language of, maybe I should have packed those motion sickness pills.
Exactly.
But they make it to Bari in one piece, breeze through immigration, and what's the first order of business? Food, of course.
Priorities.
They head straight to Damicella Osteria restaurant, eager to dive into some local cuisine. And it's here we encounter our first intriguing detail. They share their table with 2 Irish guys who are a riot.
Now, that's what I call an auspicious start to a trip. Those unexpected encounters can often lead to the best travel stories.
Absolutely. It's like we're already building a picture of their trip. The aroma of Italian dishes, the lively chatter of fellow diners.
The anticipation of adventures to come.
Exactly. And speaking of which, day 2 dawns clear with bright sunshine, as they put it, and our intrepid explorers make a beeline for Bari's waterfront.
Can't blame them for soaking up that Mediterranean sunshine.
Not at all. And they're particularly drawn to the Fisherman's Quay, where, I imagine, the sights and smells of the fresh catch are pretty enticing.
Oh, absolutely. It's one thing to see pictures of a bustling fish market, but to be there, taking in the salty air, the sight of all that fresh seafood, it just immerses you in the experience.
Like stepping right into one of their blog posts. But Rob and Mandy aren't just rushing from one landmark to the next. They seem to really embrace those unscripted moments, the kind that often reveal the true heart of a place.
It's those little details that often stick with you long after the trip is over.
Totally. Like, for example, they stumble upon a group of paramedics and nurses in the middle of a, get this, life-saving demonstration. But here's the kicker. It's all choreographed to the music of the Bee Gees.
You're kidding. That's amazing. Talk about an unexpected juxtaposition.
Right. Only in Italy. But that's what's so great about their blog. It reminds you to expect the unexpected when you're traveling.
Embrace the spontaneity.
Exactly. And speaking of contrasts, their next stop takes them from the lively waterfront to the labyrinthine streets of Bari's old town.
Quite a shift in scenery.
They describe a warren of narrow streets, churches, and picturesque old buildings. A place where the echoes of history are almost tangible.
I love how they captured that sense of timelessness. You know, you turn a corner and stumble upon a hidden piazza, a centuries-old church.
It's like stepping back in time.
Exactly.
And true to form, amidst all this grand architecture, Rob and Mandy find time for a simple pleasure. Coffee and cake.
Ah, the essentials.
It seems to be a recurring theme throughout their trip. A little pre-exploration ritual, perhaps.
You very civilized one at that.
And as the day winds down, they make a practical stop at the train station to buy tickets for their next adventure. But before we jump on that train with them, any guesses as to how they capped off day 2?
Let me think. They've already had coffee and cake.
The girls got to eat.
Given their track record, I'm going to say a delicious dinner at a charming local restaurant.
You know these guys too well.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. They finished the day with dinner at Alberobello restaurant, and they were especially impressed by their waitress, Daniela, praising her fantastic service.
It's those personal touches that can really elevate a dining experience.
Absolutely. And it seems Rob and Mandy have a knack for finding them. But for now, let's leave them savoring their meal, the promise of a new day and a new destination on the horizon.
Day 3 arrives, bright and early, and remember those train tickets. Our dynamic duo is Lecce bound. It's a city about an hour and 40 minutes from Bari and known for its history and baroque architecture.
And if I know Rob and Mandy, which at this point I feel like I do, they're going to need a little something to fuel up before tackling all that history.
Oh, you know it. They kick off their Lecce adventure with, drum roll please,
Yeah.
coffee and cake. Honestly, they're speaking my language with this whole pre-exploration ritual.
Right. It's like a little moment of indulgence before diving into the historical deep end.
Exactly, and their first stop is a pretty spectacular one, the Roman amphitheater.
Okay, but Roman ruins are a dime a dozen in Italy, right? What makes this one so special?
Well, this particular amphitheater was only rediscovered in 1901, can you imagine? It was hidden beneath centuries of urban development.
Wow. That's incredible. It's like a hidden piece of the past just waiting to be unearthed.
Precisely. And as if that wasn't enough history for one day, they then find themselves face to face with Castello Carlo V. It's a 16th century castle that's a real mix of architectural styles.
So we're talking Roman ruins, a 16th century castle.
Hmm.
Are they just checking off historical landmarks left and right?
Pretty much. And they haven't even reached peak architecture for the day yet. They turn a corner and boom, there's the Basilica di Santa Croce, and the facade is something else.
They describe it as an explosion of carvings, almost like looking at a picture rather than an actual building.
Exactly, a true testament to the craftsmanship of the time. And they stress that this is just a taste of what awaits in Lecce's old town. It's like every corner you turn, there's another architectural gem to discover.
A history buff's dream. But even history buffs need to eat, right?
Absolutely. And our intrepid explorers certainly worked up an appetite. They stumbled upon La Cucina di Mamma Elvira restaurant, which just sounds like the epitome of Italian comfort food.
Tell me they went for the pasta.
Oh, we're talking a spread of cold meats, cheeses, and of course a local Chardonnay to wash it all down.
Okay, now you're just making me hungry. But sadly, all good things must come to an end, even delicious Italian meals. They had a train to catch back to Bari.
But not before squeezing in one more stop. They managed to fit in a quick detour to the port of Brindisi on their way back.
Always up for an adventure, aren't they?
It sounds like they could have easily spent more time there, though. Brindisi definitely piqued their curiosity.
Adding it to the travel wish list as we speak. But for now, it's back to Bari. Because a new day brings a completely different experience. Day 4, get ready for this. They're off to the enchanting village of Alberobello.
Ah, Alberobello. Famous for those unique trulli houses, right?
The ones that look like something out of a fairy tale?
Exactly. With their conical roofs and whitewashed walls, they're like something out of a storybook.
And I think we both know what comes next. After that hour-long bus ride to Alberobello, our travelers indulged in.
Let me guess. A little coffee and pastry pick-me-up in the local square.
You've cracked the code. It seems like coffee and cake are their version of a magic spell for unlocking amazing travel experiences.
And it seems to be working for them. But eventually, the allure of Alberobello's unique architecture proves too strong to resist. They start with a visit to the Basilica of Saints Cosmas and Damian, soaking in the village's spiritual side.
From one church to another, but this time it's the Trullo Sovrano, which sounds like the ultimate fusion of history and architecture.
It's a fascinating place because it's no longer a functioning church. They've transformed it into a heritage museum.
So instead of just reading about trulli houses, visitors can actually step inside one. That's incredible. Talk about bringing history to life.
Exactly. And speaking of which, their next stop takes them into the heart of Alberobello, where they're surrounded by a maze of these trulli houses.
You can practically feel their excitement as they describe wandering through those narrow streets, every turn revealing another picture-perfect scene. But they do offer a word of warning to fellow travelers.
Yes, the inevitable downsides of popularity. It seems not all is idyllic in Trulli land. They encounter their fair share of souvenir shops and what they considered overpriced restaurants.
It's that delicate balance, isn't it? Preserving a place's authenticity while also catering to those who want to experience it.
Absolutely. But, ever resourceful, our intrepid travelers found a way to escape the crowds. Tucked away amidst the tourist hustle and bustle, they stumbled upon a craft beer bar. Housed in a traditional trulli, of course.
Okay, that sounds amazing. Sipping on craft beers in a trulli house. Now that's what I call an authentic Alberobello experience.
They definitely know how to sniff out those hidden gems. But eventually, even craft beer and trulli ambience can't replace a good meal. They head to a place called Bar Tropical.
Tropical in a village known for its ancient stone houses. That's quite a contrast.
Right. But the real highlight, The food came with a panoramic view of those iconic trulli roofs.
Now, that's what I call dinner and a show. So they've explored ancient ruins, wandered through charming streets, and indulged in local brews and cuisine. What more could you ask for from a trip to Alberobello?
Well, according to Rob and Mandy, no trip to Italy is complete without a little something sweet.
Did someone say gelato?
Gelato it is. And they savored it near the War Memorial, which is a bit of a poignant juxtaposition, wouldn't you say?
It's like they're capturing those bittersweet moments that often weave their way into our travel memories. But as their whirlwind 4-day adventure comes to an end, we're left with a bit of a mystery, aren't we? So we've journeyed with Rob and Mandy from those bustling Bari streets to the fairy tale-like Alberobello, eaten our weight in pasta and gelato. But their blog isn't called Pasta, Pints, and Picturesque Italy, right? It's a new life planned in Cyprus. So, what's the connection? What makes this trip so blog-worthy?
That's the question lingering in the air, isn't it? It's almost as if they've scattered these breadcrumbs, vivid descriptions of food, those chance meetings, stunning architecture. But the real treasure, the real story, lies in figuring out why this trip, at this point in their lives, resonated so much that they felt compelled to share it.
Okay, so we're playing detective with their travelogue.
Yeah.
We know they swapped Cardiff for Cyprus back in 2006. That's a huge leap, a real thirst for something different, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And when you look at their Bari adventure through that lens, a pattern emerges. They're drawn to the spontaneous, those riotous Irishmen, the paramedics grooving to the Bee Gees.
Like they're reminding themselves, reminding all of us to savor those unplanned moments, those detours that make a trip, make life interesting.
Exactly. And don't forget those coffee and cake pit stops. Sure, we could say they were simply refueling for more sightseeing, but there's a rhythm to it, a deliberate slowing down, wouldn't you say?
Savoring the moment, the simple pleasures amidst all the newness. And isn't that what a life in Cyprus is all about? A slower pace, connecting with those simple pleasures, lingering over meals.
It's like their Bari trip wasn't just a vacation, it was a reflection of the life they'd built for themselves in Cyprus.
A perfect blend of exploration and relaxation, immersing themselves in a new culture, yet holding on to those little rituals that bring comfort.
And by sharing it on their blog, perhaps they're subtly nudging their readers, encouraging us all to find those experiences that remind us what truly matters.
Whether it's finally booking that trip to a nearby town we've always taken for granted, or simply treating ourselves to a long, leisurely coffee break.
Sometimes the most profound journeys are the ones that lead us right back to ourselves.
And on that note, we wrap up our deep dive into Rob and Mandy's Italian escapade. Until next time, keep exploring, keep savoring, and keep those travel diaries coming.
You like flying where we never hide.
Out on the highway, chasing the